Okay, so here is the lesson right here. This is the message. Your identity dictates your actions. So I put this post up on Facebook. If you're watching me here on Facebook, you probably saw it. I put this post up on Facebook the other day and I asked people if you could go from being paralyzed, which is an identity, from being paralyzed to energetically consistent in your life and business every single day, what difference would that make? What I'm really asking you in that situation, if you could change your identity from paralyzed to energetically consistent, what difference would it make in your life and business? So, what I want to share with you in this video here is the power of identity. And I learned this, I really got a good lesson of this watching my daughter come home from her mission yesterday. So if you're following me on Facebook, you probably saw some pictures I put up yesterday and some short videos of my daughter coming home from an 18-month mission where she spent 18 months out in Austin, Texas, owning the identity that she is a servant of God, owning the identity that she is a missionary, owning the identity that who she is a servant of the Lord. And it was really cool. Over the last 18 months, we'd get to talk about once every week or so, every couple of weeks sometimes. And I got to see her in her element. I got to watch her living out the actions of her identity. And so what she did was really right here was kind of show this concept that your identity dictates your actions. And this was her identity for 18 months. And yesterday I got a really powerful lesson in how amazing and how influential and how smart it is to understand your identity dictates your actions. Because when Madison came home yesterday, she had her final interview with the stake president of the church and was just like, hey, basically it's kind of like your exit interview, if you will. And I got to see Madison emotionally mourn the loss of that identity as the person who is gone, who's away from home and on a mission, right? And being a servant of the Lord and so on. And I got to watch her mourn the loss of that identity because it's like that. It's over, right? And so the stake president had her take her name tag off. And for those of you who know or have ever seen an LDS missionary, they have this name tag. This name tag is their identity during this time on their mission. Like she owned it. And so for her to be without it was, like she said, she felt naked. And maybe when Madison's ready, I'd love to have her come on my Facebook here and talk about identity and how powerful this is. But to take that name tag off was like losing an identity and having to take on a brand new one like that. And so for her, that was traumatic, right? I honestly believe there was some trauma there. And I remember, like, for example, when I got fired, I was like, I no longer identify as a person who works at this company, who that's the identity I was tying myself to. And then, so when I went to another job and decided to take on the identity of that job, I lost that job and that identity is ripped away from me. And so this concept of identity is so important. And I want you to think about this, is that where in your life have you held on to an identity but that identity was not based on who you are inside. It was based on what you were doing outside. And when that thing that was outside is taken away from you and you mourn the loss of that identity, how did you react? Like for me, I remember I was coaching girls basketball just a year ago, actually coming up on a year ago in June. I was coaching girls basketball and we were short a few girls. And so I decided to jump in and run a few of the drills with them just to kind of fill in some numbers. And I heard this loud pop. And I felt like somebody had kicked me in the leg. And I realized that I had torn my Achilles tendon. And it was in that moment, my identity of a basketball player was taken away. So I had to like kind of go through the traumatic experience of mourning the loss of the identity of a person who can play basketball. And because I relied on this external thing to be my identity, there was a sadness and a mourning there. And I want you to understand that how powerful it is that when you understand your identity right here, when you understand this, your identity dictates your actions. You have to ask yourself, what kind of identity are you attaching yourself to? So I want you to think about this right now. When I ask you to tell me, who are you? I want you to think about, what would you say I am? If I were to ask you, are you organized? Would you say, I am organized, or I am disorganized? If I were to ask you, do you believe in you? If you were to say, I don't believe in me, or I am unconfident, right? Or I don't even know if that's a word. That's an identity you believe. I want you to ask yourself, I am influential. If you say I am influential and you don't believe it, it's because the identity of you have been taking on is I am not influential. Right? If someone says, if you're looking at your network marketing business and someone says, tell me about your network marketing business, and you'll say, it is, right? It is what? It is only this. I get this a lot. I'll ask people, tell me what rank you are in your network marketing business. And they'll say things like, I am just. The words I am just will start with every sentence. I am just this rank. I am just that rank. I am only this, or I am only that. Or better yet, more like I am not, right? They'll say things like, I am not successful. I am not influential. I am not organized. I am not supportive. I am not focused. I am blocked. I am stuck. I am moving backwards. I am frustrated. When we say these things, we are now what happens is that we have taken on an identity that will then immediately dictate our actions. So what I want to share at this video here is how you can shift that. If the I am that you are naturally, instinctively putting out into the world is not serving who you want to be, I want to help you shift that. So what I want to ask you right now is, how do you talk to yourself? Do you say, oh man, I suck at this? I can tell you right now, I'm an expert in that. Right? But one thing I was always really good at is understanding my strengths. I am a learner. Much different, right? I am a learner. It's my number 6 strength, right? I am a learner. And when I say I am a learner, I suddenly feel power. I suddenly feel a shift in power. I suddenly feel a shift in focus. It suddenly gives me something I can do. You see, if you say I am struggling, there's nothing to do. But if you say I am a learner, if that's one of your strengths, you suddenly have something to do. And so when you take on the identity of someone who is powerful and can do something, you actually move forward. I was in a mastermind for a while with a guy named Dr. Josh Axe, if you've ever heard of him before. And one of the trainings I went to of his live, it was in Nashville, Tennessee. He talked about identity extensively, and he talked about 2 different types of identities that we can take on. And he says that there's the identity of the hero, right? And the identity of the villain. But he said that the hero and the villain both have one thing in common. At one point in their lives, something happened to them that they were a victim of. And when they in that victim experience and that event, they were both harmed. And then how they reacted based on the identity that they chose dictated what they did with it. And the example he used was Harry Potter. So if you've ever seen Harry Potter, you look at both Harry Potter and Tom Riddle both have a similar experience where they were both abused in some way, shape, or form and victimized. But what the difference was that Harry chose to be someone who said, no one will be the victim of this ever again as long as I can. I'm going to help make sure that nobody ever experiences that. Versus Tom Riddle, who basically stayed the victim long enough to become the villain. And when he became the villain's motto was, everyone will feel this pain. And it's funny because I'm sure you're watching this going, I'm not the villain. I would never be the villain. And let me ask you this. If there are moments where you feel alone because you haven't found someone who has felt your pain. If you have ever had a moment where you feel alone because you can't find someone or you don't believe there's someone who knows or has felt your pain, then you understand the identity of the villain. You see, the villain wants to stop being alone, and they're hoping that they can find someone who has felt their pain. And when they can't, they will make sure they do. And they will look for any way they can subconsciously to cause that pain just so they stop feeling alone. So maybe you do know what it's like to be the villain. Here's when you take on the identity right here. Let me go back to here. The identity right here. Your identity dictates your actions. When you choose to take on the identity of the hero, you are not choosing to take the identity of a perfect person. You are choosing to take on the identity of somebody who cares, who wants to help make sure that no one feels that pain. In other words, you want to be the last one to ever feel that pain, to ever feel that failure or that setback. This is why we do network marketing. This is why we do videos. This is why we do content. This is why we create courses. Because this right here, because we have made the choice to be the hero. So I'm going to ask you, right? Who have you been? Have you been the victim just waiting to become the villain? Or are you choosing to take on the identity of the hero who says, I'm going to do whatever I can every single day to make sure other people don't feel this way, don't experience this? So how do we shift this? One way we can shift this is by obviously understanding your strengths. Because ultimately, when you shift your identity into something that gives you strength, then you become powerful. Let me say that again. When you shift your identity into something that gives you strength, then you become powerful. There's no other way I know to do this other than to know your strengths. Your strengths show how you make a difference. Your strengths show how you can impact the world. Your strengths show how you can build better relationships. Your strengths show how you can make more money. Your strengths show how you can improve your health and change everything. We can't do that if we keep living in the identity that we are not strong, that we are not educated, or we are not energized, or we are not thin, pretty, beautiful, accepted, loved, and supported, heard, all that crap. You getting something? All right. Is there one more coming? Okay. So we can't. So let me just share with you real quick. If we're not living in our high strengths, then we are organically living in our bottom strengths. Our bottom strengths is where we become the victim. Our bottom strengths is where we have victimized ourselves. That's where our bottom strengths are. And if you don't know what your bottom strengths are, then it's easy to assume that you organically go there naturally based on all the things around you. So when so-and-so says this, it means I am bottom. Got it? Okay. When so-and-so does this, it means I am then the bottom. So my friends, here's my challenge to you. Get your strengths if you haven't done it yet. If you do have your strengths, go look at them every freaking day and say, I am. For me, I'll tell you each of my top 15 strengths. And the reason why they're memorized is not because I stood there and I memorized them. I memorized them because I thought about them every single day. And that gave me the identity of someone who makes a difference in people's lives. I am strategic. I am activator. I am futuristic. I am woo. I am self-assurance. I am learner. I am communication. I am competition. I am focus. I am arranger. I am input. I am positivity. I am significance. I am achiever. I am, right? I am, my friends. I am ideation. I am. And when I say I am, and I base it on those strengths, I know that is the identity that I am, that makes a difference in the lives of other people. When I say I will make sure that no one ever feels the pain of not knowing themselves and not being their best selves with everything they do, I choose to be the hero. Just like you can choose. anytime, any day, the moment, like right here, right now, while you're watching this. And as I'm watching my daughter Madison, accept a brand new identity and try to do new things and tries to figure out who she is next, the conversation we're going to start with is the identity inside of her that is always there, no matter where she goes, no matter what she does, just like you. No matter where you go, no matter what you do, the identity of your strengths goes with you. It never changes. And you can take that and ultimately become the hero with everything you do. So you want to make more money? Be the hero. You want to build stronger relationships? Be the hero. You want to improve your health? Be the hero. The hero for you, the hero for others, the hero for God, the hero, my friends. Choose right here, right now, that you're going to be a servant of others and thus find your identity, the identity that is attached to making a difference in the lives of others because it makes you happy, just like it makes me happy. Every single day to do content, do videos, bring whatever I can. I sit in this office and I try to think, what can I create to make a difference in someone's lives? And because I have chosen that identity, the things that I want come to me more often than the things that I don't want. My message to you, my friends, is to choose to take on the identity of your strengths because that goes with you everywhere you go. Okay, so I hope this video was helpful for you. I hope this made a difference for you. I hope this gave you some kind of a shift to focus into your top strengths and let go of those bottoms by saying, I don't have to. It's not that I can't or I don't want to. It's I don't have to. I don't have to harmony. I don't have to consistency. I don't have to discipline. I don't have to deliberative. I don't have to restorative. I don't have to do those things because those are where I become the victim. I get to, right? I get to strengths. I get to significance. I get to those things. I get to strategic. I get to woo. I get to activator. I get to self-assurance. I get to learner. I get to communication. These are like, they fire me up. I'm ready to go. I hope you have a wonderful day and share this with others who you feel this would benefit. Tag a friend or someone you know that could really use this message. Someone who you know that maybe needs to question the identity they've taken on. And it's time to take on a new one that actually serves who you want to be. I love y'all. Have a wonderful day.